Hey there, everyone. I'm about to go live in the Unleash You Women Supporting Women's group for International Women's Day. And my topic today is Superwoman Syndrome, becoming more productive by learning to say no. So we'll be going live in just a moment. Hello, everyone, and happy International Women's Day. We are so excited about this day and all that is going on in the Unleash You Women's group. So, thank you for all the ladies who've already shared today. We are so excited about everything that has been shared. I was able to catch a few of the live streams, and I'm going to go back and watch the replays myself because we need to encourage one another. We need to support one another, and that's what this is all about. So happy International Women's Day. My name is Dr. DeAndrea Matthews. I am an international speaker, author, and publisher, and tonight I want to share with you about the Superwoman Syndrome. I'm going to be talking about becoming more productive by learning to say no. And I am one to talk about it because let me just say this, I am a workaholic. I admit I'm a workaholic. My name is DeAndrea. Hello, and I'm a workaholic. So I know a little bit about this Superwoman Syndrome because when you have so many hats that you wear, whether you're a wife and mother, or whether you're a sister or a caregiver, or you're working full time, or you're building your business, whatever it is that you're doing, whatever hats you wear, there's so much that we have on our plates, ladies. Would you agree? Let me know if you agree in the comments. So, there's so many hats that we wear, and sometimes we forget about ourselves. So as we look at this Superwoman Syndrome, we want to first start with what it looks like. And I would love to hear from you in the comments. Hello, Margaret. Thank you for the opportunity. So I would love to hear from you in the comments if you consider yourself a superwoman, if you've ever felt like you had that cape on and you were trying to do everything all at once. And even if you sometimes forgot about you. I know when my kids were little, and I'm the mother of 5 biological children. When my kids were little, I was doing and giving to everybody else, and I forgot, hey, Dr. Favor, thank you. And I forgot to take care of myself sometimes. So now in my schedule, I have one day that I set aside for my time. Now, because I'm in that sandwich generation, I have my own children, and now I'm taking care of my elderly parents. Sometimes that day doesn't completely go to me, but it's still set aside for me. And I make sure that I do those things that I want to do, I enjoy doing, and that replenishes me. So as superwomen, sometimes, we try and take it all on. Sometimes it's placed on us. Sometimes we accept it willingly. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So we are out there, we're making it happen, and we try to do everything sometimes, but there are some things that we do well. There's some things that we can do, and we do it good, but that doesn't mean that aligns with our purpose and our vision for that season that we are in. I'll give you an example. When I was an undergrad, I started braiding hair to make some extra money. And that continued when I had my own children. I was able to do their hair instead of having to pay somebody else to do their hair. So I was able to save a lot of money. But just because I could braid hair and things of that nature, and I used to do it to make some extra money myself, that doesn't mean that in this season of my life that I'm in now, that because somebody calls and say, hey, can you braid my hair, that I'm going to do it. So there are some things that we learn in different seasons of our life, and there are things that we are good at, and just because we can do it doesn't mean that we should do it. But how do you distinguish? How do you determine what do I say yes to? What do I say no to? So again, there are a lot of things that we do well, but where do we add the most value? That's the question that I ask myself when I find myself in a situation trying to figure out, is this something I'm going to give my time to? Is this something that I really want to do? Does it align with where I am right now in this season of my life? And that helps me to say no. But it took a process to get there. So I want to kind of walk you through that process because I was the person that used to say no and then feel guilty. Did anybody else ever do that? You ever felt guilty after you said no, or you felt like you had to offer an explanation? Well, I can't do it because. And all of that is fine and good, but I had to grow to the place and I had to heal from some things as well. And one of the speakers earlier talked about, again, going back and looking at what the roots were, where it came from, and how we got to that place. And that's a part of that healing process. And when you do that work, that self introspection, when you do that work, then you're healed for real and you can walk away and not feel guilty. But I used to be the person that would try and offer excuses. And again, depending on who you were dealing with and how manipulative they were, if we'll be honest, then they would have some come back and they would kind of, rope you into doing something anyway with their manipulative tactics. But at the end of the day, you want to be able to say no to the things that don't add value to your life or don't support where you are so that you can be the best person possible. We want you to be the best version of you that is possible. So again, there are a lot of things that we can do well, but where do you add the most value? Those are the things that you should spend your time doing. And when you don't know that, and when you haven't figured that out, that's when we tend to take on that role of being a superwoman. So anything that somebody asks, you try and do it, or you try and figure out how you can help them or find somebody who can. And that's nice because, again, we're nice people. We want to help people out. But how much of your effort, how much of your day, how much of your time, how many hours are you giving to, again, just helping that person find what they need versus doing something that fulfills you and helps you with where you are? So how does all of this relate to being productive or not being productive? We have the same 24 hours in a day, the same 60 minutes in an hour, the same 168 hours in a week, the same 365 days in a year. We have the same concrete amount of time. Each of us does. But how we use that time is up to us. And again, self-proclaimed workaholic. And I am the type of person, because I dealt with performance orientation for so long, I'm the type of person that even at the end of the day, before I close my eyes for sleep at night, I'm asking myself, what have I done? Have I been productive? And I'm kind of, giving myself a grade at the end of the day to see if I'm satisfied with the things that I've done, with the things that I've spent my time doing. So I looked at that 168-hour week. I looked at those 24 hours in a day and I figured, okay, yes, I'm still working a full-time job. Yes, I'm still trying to build a business. Yes, I'm still a mother, a wife, and a caregiver. So how many of those hours can I legitimately give to myself, give to others, and still be able to get some sleep and do meal prep and all those other things that are important and our priorities? So if you look at that 24-hour day, I broke it down into 8-hour segments. 8 hours I'm going to say is for sleep, even if I only get 6 hours of sleep a night. 8 hours I'm going to say is for my job, even though, I'm there 8 hours, but you have to add in the time for the commute and your time for lunch and things of that nature. So if you do all of that, you still have roughly about 5 or 6 hours left. Now, most people spend their time watching television, they'll watch their favorite show, they'll scroll social media, and they'll use those 5 or 6 hours just doing miscellaneous activities. But I made a decision that I was going to be the most productive that I could be, and I would maximize the use of my time. So the first thing I did was I cut out television, I cut out watching movies. Now, mind you, I will watch a movie on date night. I will watch a movie on the weekend when I'm sitting up with mom trying to spend quality time with her. Not a problem, but it's my choice. So I wanted to be able to, again, maximize that time and do the things that I needed to do during the run of a day to make sure that I was checking everything off of my to-do list. So that's how I handled it. I was able to carve out some additional hours in the day, even though it's not really additional hours. It was just making the use of the time that we are given. So I was able to carve out that time, and I really was able to get so much done. And if you've been following me on social media, you know that I've been prospering in spite of a pandemic. So I've had so many wonderful opportunities. And it was because I learned how to, again, be productive with the time that I was given and also to prioritize my schedule. My family knows if it's not on the schedule, it does not exist. So the color-coded schedule is what works really well for me. So you might be saying, well, what's a color-coded schedule? And whether you use what we will refer to as an analog analog schedule or calendar, or whether you have an electronic calendar on your phone or what have you on your computer or your tablet. Either one, you can still use color coding. So whether you have your markers and your highlighters for your paper calendar or planner, or whether you're using, again, electronic highlighting and notes apps and things of that nature, you can still do the same thing. And what that means is you decide what colors you're going to use based on what is important to you. For example, green, I think, is universal. If you're talking about work, if you're marking out the work hours, you're going to block off the time in green for work because you're making money, so green makes sense. For me, because my husband's favorite color is blue, blue I always set aside for date night. So blue, when I see blue on the calendar, I know that's something dealing with me and my husband because that's his favorite color. Another color that I use is purple because purple is my favorite color. My self-care activities are highlighted in purple. So again, that's just a quick example of how you can use color coding for your schedule as you are, again, becoming more productive. So we also want to talk about what it means to say no, because of course other people want to encroach upon your time. They want to be able to draw on you because you're so wonderful, you're so magnificent, and that's why we're celebrating you today. But you need to be able to say no. So even though we've dealt with the superwoman and how we feel and the things that we take on and we try and make it happen for everyone, and even though we've looked at ways of being more productive, which could be your color-coded calendar, which is making sure that you're maximizing the time that you're given during the 24 hours in a day, but you also want to make sure that you know how to say no and not feel guilty. So a part of saying no is making sure that you have time for self-care. And I don't have to tell anybody in this group about self-care because we had wonderful sessions not that long ago on self-care, which is so important. So even with self-care, you have to prioritize that time and you have to be able to, again, set it aside just like you would going to work or anything else. If you have 2 hours set aside on a Sunday afternoon and that's your self-care time, then nothing else should be involved in that time. If somebody asks you, the answer is what, ladies? No. So we need to practice saying no in ways that are a little more comfortable, a little more, if you would, non-threatening before you have to say no for something that's big or someone who's always intimidated you or, kind of twisted your arm, not literally, of course, to get you to do things. For me, we'll just say it's a sister. I won't say which one, even though I only have one. I'll just smile and nod. But, sometimes people like sisters or siblings get you to do things that you don't always want to do. So you want to be able to tell them no, and you want to be able to practice it before you have to use it for someone that you've not been able to say no to in the past. So practice saying no without feeling guilty, again, in those smaller scenarios until you build up that no muscle. And I call it a no muscle because no is a complete sentence all by itself. We need to embrace that. No is a complete sentence all by itself. And what does that mean? That means that even though it's a courtesy, if I tell you, no, I can't do it this week, but I can do it next week, even though it's a courtesy, if I tell you, no, I'm unable to do it today, I don't have to offer you an excuse as to why. Offering that excuse is a courtesy, but I don't owe you anything. So understanding not only that, yes, you can say no without feeling guilty, understanding that, yes, you can say no and not have to offer an explanation, understanding that that explanation is a courtesy, but it is not owed to anyone unless you say so. Whoever that person is in your life that, again, you're accountable to, you want to share it with, fine, but that should be your choice. So those are some tips that I want to share with you. Again, I'll go over them as we're looking at that superwoman, understanding what that looks like in your life. What does being a superwoman look like to you? What is it that you've taken on and you almost some days feel like you have to be a superhero in order to handle it all, or you feel like everything is just kind of weighing you down and you need superpowers to be able to get through it. The other part of it is being more productive with the time that you have. I know so many people who say, oh man, I wish it was more hours in the day, or I wish we had more time, or I wish it was more days in the week. We don't have more time. We don't have more days in the week. But we can look at how we're using our time. And when we look at how we are using the time that we currently have, we can make some adjustments. We can make some different allotments. If you spend, normally 3 hours vegging out and watching your favorite Netflix show or what have you, maybe cut it down to an hour and a half and spend that hour and a half that you've now saved doing something that you really want to do for you. So looking at what it looks like in your life to be a superwoman, looking at ways to be more productive, which includes, for me, a color-coded schedule or a color-coded calendar is a must. And then finally, being able to say no. Being able to say no without feeling guilty, and being able to say no without having to offer any excuses. Again, it's nice if you do, if you want to, that's fine, but that is your choice. It's entirely up to you, and it is a courtesy. So again, I hope that has helped you ladies with all of those tips. Again, these are tips that have worked for me in my own life as a mother, as a wife, as a caregiver, because now I'm taking care of my elderly parents. I'm also an employee, and I am building my own business. So those are just a few of the hats that I wear. I'm also the president of a nonprofit organization. That's another hat that I wear. I didn't even include being an author and a publisher. So those are all different things that I am. And you can look at your own life and look at the different hats that you wear, the different responsibilities that you have, and say, okay, I owe it to myself to give something back to me. And quite honestly, just going back to that self-care for just a moment, we need to understand that if we don't pour into ourselves, if we don't take care of ourselves, then what will we have to give to someone else? We have to take the time to make sure that our own tanks are full, because just like with the car, if you keep driving, eventually if you don't put gas in that car, it's going to stop on you. It doesn't matter what the make or model is. It doesn't matter how shiny it is and that you just got a car wash. If you don't put gas in it, it's going to run out. It's going to stop. And you don't want your body to shut down on you because you haven't taken the time to invest back in yourself and to take care of you. Again, ladies, my name is Dr. DeAndrea Matthews. It has been my pleasure sharing with you, and I can't wait to read your comments. Please let us know if you're watching live or watching via the replay. Go ahead and drop in a hashtag replay if you're watching the replay, and I'm going to check out those comments and respond to each one because I want to hear from you. Have a fabulous rest of your evening, and thank you, each and every one of you, for joining us for International Women's Day. You are a rock star, and we love you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.